Blizzard. It's a giant gaming company, and you probably know them. They've been around for a while and done games such as this, and this.
But what you may not know, though hopefully you do, is that Blizzard is a terrible company. In fact, they are so bad that we were able to create an Iceberg dedicated to all the awful things that they've done. We'd also like to give a special thanks to these guys over in the Discord for helping us gather, organize, and put together this massive iceberg. Without them, this would have taken so much longer, and we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you.
You guys are the best. So sit back and relax as we take you on a journey of breast milk, unalives, and overall terrible management as we go over the Blizzard Activision Iceberg.
In traditional Iceberg fashion, we'll be starting from the top, which include the well-known controversies, and then work our way down into the more esoteric things.
And what a better place to start than Diablo Immortal. So it's BlizzCon 2018, and rumors were swelling about a new Diablo announcement. Naturally, everyone was really excited to hear about Diablo 4. Blizzard did showcase a new title though, and it was a Diablo game, but it was Diablo Immortal. A mobile game that promised a full Diablo-like experience on phones.
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
Of course, as you can imagine, the audience was not impressed, leading to the creation of this hilarious clip.
Hey, just was wondering, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
No.
The game came out and it's pretty much what everyone expected, which is basically a soulless cash grab.
Man, Blizzard just can't handle guys in red shirts, can they? With Diablo 4, news about it recently came out, and the game is always online and has microtransactions. Who would have thought?
This seemingly was in direct response to the success of Diablo Immortal, despite the backlash. They did promise that you can't buy power in Diablo 4, however.
I don't believe them.
When Diablo 3 was first released, it had a new feature called the Auction House, which allowed players to sell loot obtained from dungeons for real money. This of course undermined the entire point of dungeon crawling. So the Diablo community fought back very hard, and Blizzard did eventually remove the Auction House, but judging from Diablo 4, they didn't really learn their lesson.
Before the release of the hacker character Sombra in Overwatch, the devs had started an ARG, that's alternate reality game for you uninitiated, within the game that had a lot of players eagerly solving the many ciphers and code within it.
Hey, I remember this. The devs of the game didn't really plan the ARG too well though, which I also remember, leading to players getting frustrated at the red herrings such as the infamous artifact that was discovered in the sky of the Dorado map.
In fact, the ARG was so poorly planned that it is speculated that the Overwatch team frequently puppeteered as players or created new ciphers to circumvent the ones that were too hard to solve.
And what did all of this lead to, you may ask?
Nothing. It led to absolutely nothing. It led to a code that said "see you soon," and then at BlizzCon, the Sombra character trailer was revealed. Anyway.
Yep, I remember that too. Overwatch balancing refers to the constantly changing character kits in Overwatch, from characters having completely new skill sets, to the Overwatch team taking away character ults, only then to reinstate them later, such as the Mercy Res.
Heroes never die.
They were pretty infamous for being really bad at balancing.
Overwatch porn is so rampant and so sought after that it has its own Wikipedia article on it.
But despite its popularity, Blizzard at one point attempted to cease and desist all Overwatch porn on various AV sites.
Despite that, Jeff Kaplan, the original director of Overwatch, stated that he didn't mind seeing it as long as it doesn't get into the view of children. Fair point.
Based Papa Jeff. Overwatch AVs are so popular that various advancements were made in Source Filmmaker that made it easier to create them.
Diva's hot.
She is.
Yeah. Cosplay.
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Oh. Overwatch director Jeff Kaplan stated that he wanted to challenge what a sequel is with Overwatch 2.
What that actually means is that they were lazy and that in general it's agreed that Overwatch 2 is more of an update to the game than an actual sequel.
That claim comes from features that were promised to be in Overwatch 1, such as a single-player campaign, which isn't even out yet.
Actually, Blizzard just came out and said they canceled PvE. Good job, Blizzard.
And very little in terms of graphic improvements or map updates.
That being said, Jeff left Blizzard shortly after he made the statement, leading many players to believe that he didn't have faith in the game.
The launch of Warcraft 3 Reforged was a disaster. The game had many missing features that were promised, non-existent multiplayer features, and it was overall a buggy and janky mess that no one liked.
The game was received so poorly that many players wanted to get refunds for it. But Blizzard basically said nope and wouldn't allow players to get refunds until fans of the game started threatening government action. Only then did they issue refunds.
The $25 virtual card refers to Blizzard having the audacity to add a diamond card to Hearthstone last year. It was a purely aesthetic card that allowed you to have a shiny little border around a single card.
Many Hearthstone players were very outspoken about the absurdity of this item, stating that it was one of the worst purchases that someone could make in the game, opting instead to spend their money on endgame booster packs. So the last item on Tier 1 is actually pretty significant. The Blitzchung incident is about a professional Hearthstone player called Blitzchung, who, during the Hearthstone Grandmaster streaming event in 2019, voiced his support for the Hong Kong protest.
你随时可以开始，头先低下来。
光复香港，时代革命。
Professor Ellie here to do you guys a learning. For those of you who are unaware of the Hong Kong protest, this is the TLDR. Back around 2019, the Chinese government wanted to pass a bill allowing them to extradite Hong Kong convicts to the mainland. This led to massive protests in Hong Kong, as it would allow the Chinese Communist Party to target journalists and anyone who openly spoke out against the party. And yes, Hong Kong journalists have disappeared in the past.
In response to this, Blizzard told Blitzchung that he would forfeit any prize money, which was about 4,000 USD, and he would be banned from other Grandmaster tournaments for 1 year. They also fired the 2 livestream presenters who were interviewing him at the time, because that is a great business decision. The
internet, of course, did fight back with the trending hashtag Boycott Blizzard, which former Blizzard employee and World of Warcraft team lead Mark Kern proudly participated in.
5 days following the incident, Blizzard responded that mayhaps they went too far in a few places, and that the penalties applied to the parties were not appropriate.
You think?
However, they were still concerned about how Blitzchung and the casters took the discussion away from the game and into political discourse.
That didn't stop companies like Epic, who are 40% owned by Chinese giant Tencent, from ripping on them for their punishments. Tier 2 is still pretty common knowledge, but if you weren't paying attention, you might have missed something.
So we're gonna jump right on into Tier 2 with one of the dumbest things that Blizzard has ever done. In 2010, Blizzard announced that they were gonna make people who used the Battle.net forums use their real name and what they called Real ID. This, as you can imagine, was stupid.
As a result of this announced change, the community pushed back and demanded the change be rescinded. To combat this, one genius employee revealed his full legal name, stating, "It's no big deal, guys."
Shortly thereafter, his phone number, picture, age, home address, and other details were posted on those very forums. 'Cause it's no big deal, right?
With the advent of Overwatch 2 being free to play, Blizzard revealed that they would introduce their Defense Matrix initiative. They claimed that the Defense Matrix would be used to promote positive behavior in Overwatch 2.
What that actually means, though, is that any voice chats that happened in-game were recorded and transcribed by an AI to identify disruptive players to create a safer community. And they promised that they would totally delete any of those records after the transcription. But what about the transcriptions?
While Valorant has something similar in place, Blizzard took it a step further by also declaring that anyone who owned any Blizzard game would also need to supply their phone numbers.
This included games you already owned, such as Overwatch, since it was being updated into Overwatch 2 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, because there's 2 of them now.
Overwatch character McCree has had a lot of controversy surrounding him. It was named after the game designer Jesse McCree, who was let go after it was revealed he was named in the sexual harassment lawsuit. In response to this, the Overwatch team changed his name to Cole Cassidy.
Beyond that, McCree also had an in-game sticker of an use that was removed without a stated cause or reason. The HOTS Epic Arcane mount was given to players of the Blizzard crossover MOBA game, Heroes of the Storm. It was given to players after the announcement that the game would cease active development, but if you kept playing, you'd get the very cool mount. It's not cool. Speculation states that the reason they wanted people to keep playing was so that they could boost their numbers, to show their investors that they were doing great, even though they're bleeding players.
That, however, pales in comparison to what they did with the Heroes of the Storm pro scene. In 2018, Blizzard announced they'd be scaling back work on Heroes of the Storm, which was sad news for fans of the game. but for players who had built their life around Heroes of the Storm.
Because of you, the future for Heroes esports is incredibly bright.
It was a cancellation of the 2019 Heroes Global Championship that broke them.
The reason the cancellation was so devastating is because Blizzard didn't bother telling anyone about the fact that they were canceling it. In fact, some players and coaches stated that Blizzard told them that just a few weeks ago, the 2019 Heroes Global Championship was still happening.
So they took their esports team and basically shot all over them. The California Department of Fair Employment and Housing has sued Activision Blizzard for multiple reports of sexual misconduct toward female employees.
The lawsuit also states that sexual misconduct didn't just happen, but was in fact encouraged by management, and that the company maintained a frat boy culture, and that the company's hiring and employment practices were discriminatory against women.
Shocking. $110,000 is a reference to the amount of money that's needed to max level a character in Diablo Immortal.
It's kind of ridiculous that we even know this number, because that means that someone has spent their time and money getting a character in Diablo Immortal to this level. StarCraft Ghost was a highly anticipated third-person shooter that had you play as the sniper character Nova. The game was promised to be a huge departure from the usual StarCraft fare, because it's a third-person shooter, for starters.
Despite this, the game had a troubled development and was finally cancelled in 2006.
Well, it wasn't until a playable build of the game leaked in 2020, showing that the game was pretty middling at best, but it had some decent stealth mechanics, such as clicking yourself and being able to move bodies out of the way. It would have done probably pretty good when it was originally announced, so this is just another example of Blizzard having terrible business sense.
Before World of Warcraft Classic came out, people who wanted a classic WoW experience were forced to play on private servers, the most popular of which being Nostalrius.
You see, WoW had become a mind-numbingly simple game compared to the earlier versions of the game, mostly due to the removal of many systems to help WoW appeal to a wider audience. That never ends well.
Nostalrius became so popular that it averaged 15,000 players at any given time. Blizzard didn't like that they were private servers, let alone popular ones, and probably sent a cease and desist to the team behind the fan server.
Thought about adding servers for previous expansions as they were then.
You don't want to do that either. You think you do, but you don't.
Then they made the classic WoW servers. One of their more controversial actions to reach the goal of appealing to a wider audience was the removal of PvP-only servers.
This rendered many in-game features and quests completely moot. A good example of what I mean is like the quest In Defense of Hala, where you'd try to capture and defend a point in the world for your faction, and it would be your factions until the cooldown on the quest ended.
World of Warcraft was always designed to be played in a world where you were in and out of contested territory. By having these features removed or optional, it made these features kind of pointless, basically. You won't have legends like angry ganking alliance players anymore, since a person could just not do PvP.
The final item on our tier 2 is about Ellie. Not this Ellie. This Ellie.
Ellie was the first female pro player in the Overwatch Contenders League, which is basically a training league for up-and-coming professional esports players to play their way into the big boy Overwatch League.
Ellie gained a lot of attention for her quick rise in Overwatch through the solo queue, which is pretty unusual without some sort of team to back you up.
Eventually, she joined the professional Overwatch team Second Wind until a fellow professional Overwatch player, Haunt, decided to dig into her background, finding her quick rise to be kinda sus.
In response to the doxing, Ellie quit the team. Later, it was found out she was just a cam girl who was pretending to play, while the professional Overwatch player, Punisher, played for her.
Funnily enough, before any of the doxing or threats or harassment, Blizzard had stated on December 26th that to use the Twitch chat during Overwatch Contenders, users would have to link their battle.net, which they thought would help against harassment, but obviously it didn't.
Alright, we're getting into the nitty-gritty stuff now. Some of you guys might have heard some of these stories, maybe you haven't.
In general though, these are some of the more weird and strange items of the Iceberg, and not really something many know about.
Lord of the Clans was a game set to release in 1998 and was the company's first attempt at creating a point-and-click adventure game, think like Monkey Island, but set in the Warcraft universe.
The game had a rocky development, and in 1997, they hired Steve Moretsky to revise the project. Steve formulated a plan to improve the game with minimal changes to its art, but Blizzard decided to cancel the game 18 months in, when the game was pretty much done.
It's weird that they did that, right? Like, there couldn't possibly have been any other reason, right?
During the Hong Kong protests, Mei from Overwatch had become a symbol of the Free Hong Kong movement.
During this time, many players noted that you could no longer buy the May statue from the Blizzard online store. When enough people noticed this, however, it was quietly added back, with no real explanation as to why it was removed to begin with. After the very many sexual harassment claims and lawsuits pushed against the company, Blizzard started trying to be a little bit less frat boy.
Not that it really mattered, but one way they planned to do this was through the removal of sexually charged paintings in World of Warcraft, that being artwork that very few people even notice, such as these two images.
Truly, they've seen the errors of their ways. The expansion for Diablo 1, Hellfire, was a mess of a development. Both Blizzard North and Blizzard South made life a living hell for the game dev of the expansion, Synergistic.
The main problem with the game's development was that Synergistic was not allowed to utilize Battle.net multiplayer in its expansion, seemingly sabotaging the expansion's success.
They also created, and hid, a ton of characters and Easter eggs, such as the dual-wielding bard and the barbarian, which were supposedly scrapped during early development, but still remained in the code.
Stuff like that and the multiple other funny Easter eggs were asked by Blizzard to be removed because they didn't like them for various reasons.
Instead, they regulated all of the unapproved changes to a secret text file that also included an unlockable multiplayer mode, despite what Blizzard had said.
In their mind, they didn't defy either Blizzard North or South, as they didn't use Battle.net and instead created an entirely new version of multiplayer.
Of course, the expansion was lauded as a success. People loved it, everyone was happy, except Blizzard. Once they found out about the multiplayer and the many Easter eggs, an executive said, "None of you will ever work in this industry again." And yeah, that's Synergistic's only game. Blizzard Activision has had 2 staff walkouts, one when Blitzchung was banned from Hearthstone, and one in response to the terrible treatment of their employees.
In response, CEO of Activision Blizzard stated, "Our initial responses to the issues we faced together and to your concerns were quite frankly tone deaf, and they promised that they would work with employees to rectify the situation."
Well, this happened in 2021, and nothing has really changed, at least as far as we can tell.
But if you're a Blizzard employee, let us know in the comments if anything has changed. Or if you know a Blizzard employee, you should ask and let us know.
So, mommy milkers.
Not these mommy milkers, though. Breast milk refers to the bizarre privacy violation some nursing mothers experienced in Blizzard in 2021, where some women were finding their breast milk stolen in the unsanitary nursing area.
Well, 4chan was able to track down the culprit because in 2019, an Anon claimed that he worked at a AAA company and frequently stole breast milk from the area to drink it. Oh God.
It was literally stealing food from babies.
NetEase and Blizzard had been working together for a good long while, about 14 years, before their partnership came to an end this year, when Blizzard denied NetEase's desire to change the contract to force Blizzard to stick to Chinese regulations.
Because of this, ActiBliz said sure for $500 million, which resulted in NetEase getting very angry at them, smashing their WoW statue that was outside the studio that handled the Blizzard licensing.
To the contract no longer continuing, all Blizzard games, save for a few mobile games, are no longer available to the Chinese audience.
And because of this, some players lost years, some even decades of progress in their games. The Cosby Suite was the name given to the hotel suite belonging to longtime WoW developer Alex Afrasiabi during BlizzCon 2013.
The reason why it was called the Cosby Suite depended on who you talked to. Some personnel claimed it originated as a joke based on the decor looking like an awful sweater, referencing of course Bill Cosby's iconic attire before his arrest.
The real reason it became known as the Cosby Suite was because Alex was allegedly a frequent sexual harasser, constantly hitting on female employees, saying he wanted to marry them, attempting to kiss them, putting his arms around them, and more. Supposedly, the Cosby Suite started as a joke to refer to his hotel room, but may have taken on more parallels to Bill's crimes.
Images found on Alex's Facebook showed a group of people with the group chat name BlizzCon Cosby Crew posing on a bed with a large portrait of Bill Cosby behind them. The group consisted of prominent Blizzard employees. Alex is in the photo as well, with an unknown person who is said to be a member of the Blizzard HR. Other found images showed off the booze they had in the suite, the group chat talking about gathering hot chicks for the cause, oh that's scummy, and a group of women posing on the bed with the Cosby portrait.
While that last image has not been seen by the public, it was reported to show a woman in the group groping another, to the delight of the cheering Cosby crew who commented on the image in the screenshot.
Contrary to some sources, it is unlikely that this room was used for actual informal networking for Blizzard employees.
Shocking.
Tier 4 is where some of the more esoteric knowledge begins, and where a lot of conspiracies and hush rumors congregate. So, I'm just gonna... There we go. Let's begin.
Employee rankings refers to the ranking system that Blizzard implemented that rewarded employees for being petty and reporting every minor infraction to their management.
The system in question is called stack ranking, and the TLDR on it is that employees are ranked on a bell curve, and roughly 5% of employees on individual teams need to be marked as a developing status, which is bad. That means that even if an employee was a good employee, they could be targeted just to meet a quota.
Of course, by being ranked so poorly, it would lower their profit-sharing bonus money and could hamper employees from getting raises.
Brian Birmingham, who was a co-lead developer for WoW Classic, had emailed staff expressing his anger towards the system, stating he would leave if it wasn't reversed. In response to the email, Blizzard fired them. The queer shielding conspiracy is referring to the conspiracy that has been raised on various places on the internet. It claims that every time a major controversy surrounding Activision Blizzard surfaces, a leak mysteriously happens online, particularly with Overwatch and a new hero.
The league always manages to showcase content that is inclusive to the LGBTQ+ community, and the most recent evidence to the conspiracy is the reveal of Life Reveal.
When the pansexual hero was announced, most media outlets covered him. Meanwhile, Blizzard Activision was in the middle of a huge antitrust violation that most people didn't see. History lesson, guys, and gather around for all of you young ones who don't know what dial-up internet is. BNet is a communication program that allowed people to play StarCraft and StarCraft Brood Wars and chat together. However, the program allowed people to circumvent being connected to Battle.net to play StarCraft with others, bypassing the need for a valid CD key.
People know what that is. Of course, that meant that anyone that got banned on Battle.net could still play StarCraft as BNet. Blizzard didn't like this. And so the creator of the program was sent a cease and desist letter only a day after it was released.
But because the project was open source, many other versions of the program had popped up, despite their best efforts. Bobby Kotick, CEO of Activision Blizzard, is a man who could get a video all to himself. However, his inclusion on the list is in regards to the fact that he was listed in Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book, which means he is likely a island vacationer.
Beyond that, there are some that believe that George Soros and Bobby Kotick are acquaintances after the billionaire bought $45 million worth of shares in 2020, despite the then recent controversy surrounding Blitzchung. J. Allen Brack was the executive producer and vice president for World of Warcraft amidst the ongoing sexual harassment allegations.
He was a longtime employee of Blizzard, going as far back as Burning Crusade, but in 2021 he was named in the sexual harassment lawsuit for failure to appropriately address reports of sexual harassment. In response, he left silently.
Unlike Bobby Kotick.
Man, doing this Iceberg has made me realize that Blizzard and all of its subsidiaries are so incredibly brain dead. In 2016, King, the creator of Candy Crush, realized that there was an outcry for more minority representation in video games.
So what did they do? They decided to develop a tool that would allow them to quantify the diversity of a given character.
Especially Link is very, Western, kind of feudal wear, and they're both very traditional body types and seemingly sexual orientation as well.
Their goal was to create more characters that break the mold and better represent women, non-binaries, and other underrepresented minorities in the industry.
What they ended up creating was a tool that trivialized human traits and made diversity into a checklist. And it was met with insane backlash from pretty much every facet of the internet. Who would have thought that was gonna happen?
Also, it's just bad writing. In 2019, Blizzard Taiwan planned a party to celebrate WoW's 15th anniversary, and it goes without saying that Taiwanese players were very excited for it. But then the Blitzchung incident happened and the event was mysteriously postponed without reason or a date of the event.
Luckily, Blizzard Taiwan did end up doing an event in December, where patrons of the event were able to buy special medallions, create their own WoW-inspired job badges, and had many on-site events, with many people coming away from the event very happy.
The reason why the postponement matters is because of China and Taiwan's history together. Taiwan, aka the Republic of China, is technically under their rule, and any mention of their independence is met with heavy criticism under the CCP. So with the Hong Kong protests and the Blitzchung incident, the timing of all of this is just kinda sus.
Finally, we are here at Tier 5. This is where things that were not highly reported on or are just weird hang out.
Either the knowledge was suppressed by Activision Blizzard, was largely forgotten, or swept under the rug by ActiBliz misdirecting people to other events. In 1997, the megacore Sundent merged with marketing company Cuck International. This merger was seemingly a great idea, and nothing can ever go wrong when two companies merge together, right?
Anyway, so basically right after the merger, it was found out that Cuck International Vice Chairman Kirk Shelton had inflated the company's revenue by $500 million over a period of 3 years. Yet, they only reported $55.4 million worth of income in 1997. So this means that they had a net loss of $212.7 million.
That's a lot of debt. Sundent then frantically started selling their businesses to try to repair the black hole, and in doing so, in 1999, they sold off their consumer software division, Sundent Software, which included Blizzard Entertainment.
So why is this company on the list? Well, 2 reasons. First reason is, you remember that Lord of the Clan game back in Tier 3? Well, this is the real reason that the Lords of the Clan game was cancelled. 2, the company that bought Blizzard was the French publisher Havas, which was then later bought by Vivendi, which was then later merged with Activision, and now it's Activision Blizzard.
It's kind of like that fish analogy where the small fish just keeps getting eaten by the big fish. The wrongful death lawsuit was filed in response to the self-unalive of Terry Monahan, an accountant at Activision who was in a sexual relationship with her supervisor.
Her motivation for unalivement was more or less what you'd expect from ActiBliz: sexual harassment, but more despicable. Male co-workers were passing around a photo of her naked hoo-ha-ha at a holiday party.
How they got the photo, we can only speculate. The suit notes that the male supervisor allegedly brought sex toys to the same Activision company retreat that Carey committed unalivement in 2017.
When her unalive became part of the DFEH's lawsuit, Activision made the following statement: "We are sickened by the reprehensible conduct of the DFEH to drag into the complaint the tragic unalive of an employee whose passing has no bearing whatsoever on this case and with no regard for her grieving family." Yeah, no bearing whatsoever.
Her family wasn't even aware of what she went through until the lawsuit became public.
The Cosby incident is something that we discovered was not reported on as much as you would think it would be at the time that it happened. This could have been due to a myriad of reasons. Maybe gaming news wasn't as widespread in 2008 or something, but regardless.
The Korean Esports Association is essentially an extension of the Korean Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism, and their aim is to make video games an actual official sporting event.
Well, 2008's esport media distribution for KESPA was in a bit of a rough spot. Some of that was in response to the fear that Blizzard would demand royalties from KESPA.
Back in 2008, Hanbit Soft, a major Korean game publisher, owned one of the 12 major gaming clubs in Korea at the time and was also the local distributor of StarCraft.
They are largely responsible for Korea being synonymous with StarCraft, and as such, for the meme that would say Ellie would be good at StarCraft.
Not if Grim Grimoire is anything to go by.
Anyway, Hanbit had a hand in creating 24-hour TV stations dedicated to computer and video games. And due to StarCraft's rising popularity in Korea, StarCraft was played on the TV frequently.
Because of the direct ties Hanbit had to KESPA, many worried that Blizzard would demand license fees from the association.
And in 2010, Blizzard did just that. And negotiations were rocky at best, so Blizzard said, "Lol, nah, we'll just have GOM TV," which is a competitive channel, broadcast Blizzard games instead.
But then, Moonhwa Broadcasting Corporation was like, "Lol, we'll negotiate with GOM TV," which would have lessened KESPA's power.
Eventually, the dispute was settled, with both Hanbit's OGN and the MBC being able to broadcast Brood War. The actual terms were too hard to find.
You made it so complicated for something that people now do for free on Twitch.
Now, this one isn't really that shocking coming from a large mega corporation like Activision Blizzard, but long story short, they're under investigation by multiple national revenue organizations for tax evasion.
Basically, TaxWatch UK has noticed that ActiBliz avoids taxes by having its IPs owned by two companies in Bermuda and Barbados.
They then use a third Netherlands-based company to license their own IPs, which allow them to take royalties from their own IPs, which get paid to the Bermuda and Barbados companies.
This little cheeky loophole has given the Bermuda company $5.59 billion in royalty payments between 2013 and 2017. This is despite having 0 employees.
Moreover, Since these are royalties, they can be deducted from the Netherlands company, meaning very little tax gets paid on that money. So, why are your employees literally having to walk out of the office to get a raise if you have this much money?
Governor Gavin Newsom is the current governor of California, officially taking his position in 2019. His involvement with Activision isn't direct, but you'll figure out the ties as we go on.
Two personnel in Cali's Department of Fair Employment and Housing blew the whistle on the governor, alleging that he was interfering with the department's case against Activision. Melanie Proctor, Assistant Chief Counsel, resigned from her position when Newsom directly fired her boss, Chief Counsel Jeanette Whipper, in March of 2022.
Proctor detailed the governor's office interference with the department's suit against Activision, pushing for early information on legal strategies and mimicking the interests of Activision's counsel. What interest specifically, we don't know.
What we do know is that Newsom previously received some good old corporations are people money, receiving $40,000 from an Activision board member going towards his 2018 gubernatorial campaign. The Entertainment Software Association, of which Activision is a member, also contributed $48,000 to the 2018 campaign, $20,000 for Newsom's 2022 campaign. The final item on this iceberg is something that happened as recently as April. It was found that Overwatch and Call of Duty were violating antitrust laws, and it was a story that didn't get a whole lot of buzz. Other things just might have gotten in the way, like, the reveal of Lifeweaver. Funny how these things seem to happen.
Anyway, on April 3rd, 2023, the US Department of Justice filed a civil antitrust lawsuit against ActiBliz for rules that limited competition for players in professional Overwatch and Call of Duty esports leagues, and for suppressing wages of esports players, violating the Sherman Antitrust Act.
What ActiBliz did was implement a system called a competitive balance tax, which penalized teams in the Overwatch and Call of Duty leagues if a team's player compensation exceeded a threshold, which was set by Activision.
Keep in mind, the teams are independently owned, the esport leagues are not. If the teams want to play competitively, there's effectively only one avenue to go through.
And that's everything. Well, not everything. Team viewers will notice we touched almost exclusively on Blizzard's side of things. So, a part 2 featuring the other side of Activision Blizzard will be coming out sometime in the future.
But yeah, tell us your thoughts. We'd love to know, how much did you guys know? Are your eyes open now? How much did we miss? This is our first time doing anything like this, so we're a little nervous about how everything's going to turn out. So yeah, if you have any feedback, give it to us.
Yeah, next time we're not going to try to record an hour-long video in the span of 4 hours and thinking we could get it done in a week.
If you guys are still here, thank you so much for watching this entire fucking video. If you guys are still here, thank you so much for watching this entire thing. You guys are what the kids call poggers, if you will. But also a huge shout out to our Discord community. They helped us so much in this as well.
And also, a very quick but very big shout out to our editor Code, who, without him, I don't think Necro News would be what it is right now.
Until next time, everyone.
Goodbye.